Wow, you're just getting gifts all over the place. Beautiful music, and not only that, what is coming for you now? The one, the only May McCarthy, which I'm super excited that she's here. She is one of my favorite people in the universe, and she is here to help you achieve greater levels of success, happiness, and freedom. So who here wants greater levels of success, happiness, and freedom? Yes, well, you came to the right place. So she knows a little bit about achieving crazy, wild, amazing success, as she has been a founding part of 7 startup companies, and the largest reaching over $100 million in annual revenue. So she kind of knows what she's talking about. She's somebody to listen to. May McCarthy came to my former Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula in Redwood City, and she talked about having this amazing spiritual practice with her chief spiritual officer. And it's in the book, The Path to Wealth. I read the book, I took her workshop, I incorporated having a conversation with my chief spiritual officer every day into my spiritual practice. And I can guarantee you that it is the reason why I'm standing before you today. So... So as you can tell, I'm very excited that she's here. I'm very excited that she's going to spread more of her love and wisdom to all of us. Please welcome May McCarthy.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, how exciting to be back and to follow my favorite teacher, Sharon Ramey, my sister. She was here a couple weeks ago. Did you enjoy her? Yeah. Great. You know, about 10 years ago, I was on this stage doing a power talk. And I was so nervous. Have any of you done power talks before? Oh my God, I was so nervous and shaky, and I stood right here and I didn't move at all. But I did some things which you're supposed to do at centers like this one. I took classes, I learned from other people, and I think it was a good thing. I took a class from Dr. Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis called High Mysticism. Anybody take that? Okay. Well, when you take that class, and she doesn't tell you this before you start, but when you take that class, it awakens spirit within you so that you really don't have any control over expressing spirit anymore. You must. You must do what is yours to do. You must live your purpose. And my purpose is to elevate prosperity and freedom for all. And I have been having an absolute blast over the last 4 years since my book, The Path to Wealth, was created, traveling around the world to dozens and dozens of spiritual centers, to corporations, to infiltrate spiritual principles and tools into business operations, and to help people create the lives that they love. And what I found as I started to get feedback from all of these wonderful people that were using the tools, as Reverend Abigail had said, using the tools to manifest the things that they love and the goals that they have, what I found was that they were able to manifest those things that they believed were possible. But for those bigger goals, those things that were different than anything they'd experienced before, or bigger than anything they've experienced before, well, they were having a little bit of an identity crisis, and they were having a little bit of struggle in manifesting those things. In fact, some people just gave up on those goals entirely, thinking that they just weren't the right goals for them. And I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. Spirit operates exactly the way Spirit operates 100% of the time, all the time. And if something is not manifesting in our life, there's something that we're affecting. Isn't that what we teach? Huh? Isn't that what we teach? So really, when you think of it that way, success is simply a system. It's not a secret reserved for only a few people. It's not a secret formula that only a few people have access to. It's something we all have access to. And thank God there are centers like this one that teach these principles and show people that are examples so that we can be encouraged to be able to use the same tools and have the same outcomes. Ernest Holmes, a fabulous teacher and the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, has us do some spiritual things, use some tools so that we can create proof for ourselves. And as we accumulate proof, don't we build up confidence? And as we build confidence, we create faith. So I'm here today not only to share with you some information about my new book, The Gratitude Formula, that came out hot off the presses, and we have some available as a fundraiser for the center in the bookstore, but to also remind you that you're a lot more powerful than you think, and that you can rely on Spirit to enable that power to show up so that you can create the life that you love. So before we get started, could I see with a show of hands, how many of you believe in miracles? Okay. A miracle is defined as an extraordinary event that manifests with spiritual intervention into human affairs. There's another definition also, which is just an extremely outstanding or unusual event. When I was growing up in Hawaii as the last of 10 children, I got a chance to witness a lot of miracles. My older brothers and sisters in the 60s were a little wild, a little crazy, and they had some things happen, including some really awful car accidents. I mean, to the point where cars would flip over giant caverns onto the oncoming traffic in another lane. When you looked at the wreckage, you shake your head and go, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that they even survived, much less walked away from that. And at 16 years old, I used to body surf a lot. That was one of the sports that I did. And I had thought nothing of, 16 feet of wave coming at me. I thought that was fun to ride down the wave. And I fractured my back. The doctor said, May, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that you aren't paralyzed for life. No one survives that sort of thing. And we had a lot of storms that would come through the Hawaiian Islands. Really big storms with giant waves. And we would pray without ceasing that our homes and our friends' homes and that our islands would be safe during these storms. And it was amazing to see some of our friends' homes be left standing with very little damage, while around them trees had been uprooted and just complete devastation around them. And their homes were safe. It was a miracle. And even our family priest, I was raised Catholic, and we had a family priest. In fact, Reverend Harold, you probably know who our family priest was, since you were raised in the same town. But we had a family priest, and he had been diagnosed with cancer. He was given 6 months to live. 6 months to live. And 4 months after his diagnosis, he went back to the doctor and was told that his cancer was in complete remission and that he would be healed. It was a miracle. A miracle. A miracle is defined as an extraordinary event that manifests with divine intervention into human affairs, or an extremely outstanding or unusual event. How many of you have experienced miracles, or you know someone that has? Okay? It's my belief, having practiced the spiritual tools that are taught at Center for Spiritual Living and other New Thought organizations around the world for generations, that there are certain things that we can do on a repetitive basis to enable miracles to happen, to have miracles show up so often that miracles just become typicals in our lives. How many of you would like that? Would you like to have more miracles in your life? Great. Well, I'm so glad I'm in the right place. Well, what I have done for you today, if you look in your bulletin, is I've given you some information that has 3 points that I want to share with you that's part of a gratitude formula. If you've read any of my, raise your hand if you need one, if you don't have one, and one will be brought to you. Miracles abound, and we can enable them to show up even more often. 3 points that I want to share with you today. The first is repetition reaps rewards. Please say that with me. Repetition reaps rewards. One of my very favorite teachers in New Thought is a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn. She published a book in 1925 called The Game of Life and How to Play It. How many of you have read it? Okay. My mother, who was a devout Catholic, who had converted from Seventh-day Adventist, gave me that metaphysical book when I was 18 years old. Somehow she thought her 10th child could really benefit from this lesson. Maybe she thought I was a little different, I don't know. But she gave me this book, and what Florence Scovel Shinn says is that we can't always control our thoughts. We can't. But we can control our words. And through repetition, we impress our subconscious mind and then master any situation. I've proved this in using these spiritual principles that are taught here, that if I repeat a successful behavior and use these tools with confidence and faith, I'm able to achieve what I want. And you know what? You've proved the same thing. You have proved that repetitive systems for success work for you. How many of you have ever driven home from work, or maybe from someplace that you go often, and you get home and you don't remember large parts of your drive home? Right? You've mastered the situation, you've practiced. But the very first time that you got behind the wheel, could you drive that well? No. You put a lot of practice and mental and physical effort into driving correctly. And how many of you remember riding a bike, learning how to ride a bike? Were you perfect the first time you got on the bike? No, you probably crashed a lot like I did. I mean, I remember some of those crashes. They were awful. But I practiced every single day, and so did you. And we saw other people that we knew and that we loved that were riding bikes successfully. And we thought, oh my gosh, if they could do it, I could do it, which gave you the motivation to stay with it, right? And if you're like me, I don't get on a bike every day or even every week or even every year. But I could get on a bike today and I could ride it just fine, even though I haven't ridden it for a while. Because through repetition, I've mastered the situation. Do you remember learning how to read? Sounding out each one of those letters and putting it together in a word and a sentence and a paragraph and a story? Do you remember how much effort that took? Now can't you read entire pages? Just skim them and get the same understanding? Right, you've mastered the situation with repetition. And don't even get me started on typing. I don't know about you, but I looked at that crazy keyboard that's not even in alphabetical order in typing class and thought, there's just no way. But through practice and repetition and seeing that other people could type, I hung in there. And now, come on, be honest. Many of you, especially probably you sitting there, young lady, you can probably type faster than I can talk now, can't you? Yeah, those things, oh, she can type. But she's mastered the situation. This is not new. There are lots of systems for success which you've been exposed to. In business, which is where I usually play a lot, I've started and grown 7 different companies. I'm an angel investor. I travel all over looking at hundreds of different companies as potential investments. And I have a portfolio, and I have investments, and I have all sorts of different things that are business related and get hired by corporations to come in and talk, which is my little secret. I get to infiltrate spiritual principles into businesses. I love that. I love how God's using me in that way. But what I'm able to do in business is recognize that managers and companies establish goals for their employees, and they revisit these goals and measure their efforts against them, right? They've got a system for success in their businesses. And professional athletes and professional musicians, they practice every single day, right? They mentally and physically practice every day to perform at their highest levels. And in religious organizations and spiritual centers, what do? We pray without ceasing. We use the 5-step science of mind treatment process with confidence and faith that things are going to turn out the way that our words have declared, right? We use systems for success. And what I write about in my books are systems that we can use that incorporate many of the successful elements from all of these areas into a very easy to understand and implement practice. Now, in this practice that I wrote about in The Path to Wealth, a daily practice, that's my practice. But you're each individuals, and you each have a spiritual relationship with your Creator that is unique. So it stands to reason that you might have your own daily practice in order to connect with the divine. How many of you have a daily practice? Right? Do you remember what your life was like when you didn't? Oh my God, the emotional roller coaster rides and the shaky foundation. So if you don't have a daily practice, there are lots of them that are taught here. And if you'd like to use a really efficient one, there's one outlined in my book, The Path to Wealth, that can help you. And what it asks you to do is to every single day meet with your source. Meet with your source of intelligence. That characteristic of spirit that advises you through intuition, through other people, and meet every single day in like a 25 to 30-minute meeting. And you're going to have a goal planning meeting. You describe what it is that you want with gratitude, because gratitude actually not only helps you to have a better overall well-being, but it magnetizes you to attract what you want into your life. So you'll write down everything that you want as though you've already achieved it with gratitude. Read that out loud and imagine seeing yourself in the completed goal. Sounds simple, right? Every single day, you'll do this. Now, the important part is to use the right words. How many of you have ever heard somebody say, I want to get out of debt? How many of you have ever heard somebody say, I want to lose 10 pounds? Well, think about those goals for a minute. If the goal is to be wanting to get out of debt or wanting to lose 10 pounds, haven't they already achieved it? Aren't they already wanting? Why do they need Spirit's help with that? Why do they need intervention, divine intervention into their human affairs? They've already achieved their goal. They're already wanting. So what they need to do is write out their goal, read it out loud, and imagining having the completed goal with gratitude. So you might change that to, I'm so grateful that I'm financially free with a minimum or more of X number of dollars to easily afford all of my living, giving, and entertainment expenses. I love my financially free life with an abundance that is overflowing and allows me the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. You see the difference? So that repetitive daily practice is oh so important as your first point in using a gratitude formula. The second point is to recognize how you're wired, okay? Recognize how you're wired. What I mean by that is, how many of you have ever had a giant goal that you didn't achieve? Okay. So when that happens, first of all, it could be for your higher and greater good that you didn't achieve it. But sometimes what happens, most often when that happens, is our brains remember the disappointment that we felt. You see, we come to this stage in our life with lots of beliefs and behaviors that have been created over a lifetime. And one of those beliefs are related to not being able to achieve those giant goals. We've had experience not achieving them. And our brain remembers every time we were super disappointed. And so it loves us. It wants to protect us. So when we come up with a goal that's larger than anything we've experienced before, or different than anything we've experienced before, in an effort to protect us, sometimes our brain can put spirit on mute so that we don't notice that divine intervention, that spiritual intuition that will guide us to achieve those goals. And that's unfortunate. Because in addition to putting spiritual intuition on mute, if we're not seeing doors open or signs or gut instincts to take steps to achieve goals, what do we tend to think? We should just give up on that goal, right? We're not getting any divine help, so we should just give up on it. We can sometimes feel like a fraud. Here I am writing out that I already have, with gratitude, this wonderful thing. And I'm not getting any intuitive hits from God or Spirit to lead me in the right direction. I feel like such a fraud. Can you guys identify with that? Yeah? And your rational mind, which really, really doesn't want you to go out on a limb, is going to try and talk you out of having that as a goal and giving up. And I'm here to tell you, look, success is not a secret. It's just a system. And these fraudulent feelings are normal, and you can move through them, and you can shift them. You can shift your beliefs. Isn't that exciting? Want to know how to do it? Okay. Well, one of the things that you can do is to use repetition with your daily practice. Write out everything as though it's already complete with gratitude, and go out and find people that have already achieved what you want. Make their stories familiar to you. Start to shift your beliefs that if they could do it, I could do it. I have a friend of mine, and she is the youngest kid in her family. And she's one of those kids that was born well after her older sibling. You know, well after, and sometimes they call those mistakes or unplanned, right? And her grandparents, her parents, her oldest sibling had all been diagnosed with diabetes. She was told since she was a little girl that she was going to have diabetes. It's hereditary. Just prepare for it. Plan for it. It's going to happen. You know, you've heard people tell those stories, haven't you? Yeah. So she decided that she didn't want to have diabetes. She wanted to have a whole, healthy, and complete life. So she's writing out her goals every single day and using her daily practice to describe them as already complete. I am so grateful that I'm physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, and a healthy, pain-free body that's easily able to move through life. I love my whole, healthy, and complete body. But she started feeling fraudulent. I mean, she had this very strong belief that she had been told since she was a kid that it was impossible for her to be whole, healthy, and complete. So I asked her to go out and meet some people. Go find people that had been diagnosed with health challenges, that had some things show up in their lives that they have overcome, that they have been miraculously healed from. Thank God there's the internet and spiritual organizations like this one that have a plethora of these kinds of stories available, and people who can give a testimony that they have been healed. So she did that. She went out to meet people. She went up to meetups. She found their stories online. She started to read them. She started to recognize that, oh my gosh, some people had had even worse health challenges. And they are now living whole, healthy, and complete lives. If they could do it, I could do it. What that did was tell her brain, I'm serious. I'm serious about achieving this goal. And what her brain did was say, okay, I don't need to protect you anymore. Took spirit off mute. Oh my God, the avalanche of intuitive hits and messages through other people and invitations from people that were total strangers who she met at a health class and a nutrition class. She met all sorts of different people. They were popping up all over the place that helped guide her towards some resources that could help her with nutrition, exercise. She made a whole new group of friends that she got to go walking with and bike riding with and hiking with. Several months went by and she went to go see her doctor. She hadn't been to the doctor in months and months and months. And she walks in 40 pounds lighter and happier. Her doctor said, look, if you keep up with that kind of a healthy lifestyle that you've now embarked on, there's no reason that you should be diagnosed with diabetes. She shifted her beliefs, and you can do the same thing. Don't give up. If you feel fraudulent, work through it. And the third and final point, as part of this gratitude formula, and I don't have time today to go through all of the 7 points, but if you do have time at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to have a really fun workshop. I give everybody a 25-page workbook, and it's really interactive and a lot of fun, and you'll be fully equipped to begin your new goal attainment practice tomorrow. That was a side note, but our third point is to make what you want familiar and have the courage to take action, to follow your intuition. In the story of my friend with the false belief that diabetes was to be in her future, she had to show courage to say, that's not going to be my life. That's not going to be my life. And when she got intuitive messages to go places and do things, she had to take action and do what she was feeling led to do. We all will need to do that. So if there's stuff that you want, see, you're good. What you desire, what you want, can be in any area of your life. It could be your health. It could be your finances. It could be your relationships. It could be the use of your skills and talents in remarkable and fulfilling and satisfying ways. It could be your recreation. It could be your spiritual connection. There's no limit to the amount of good, but as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, you've got to name it. You've got to name it. And I would add that as you name it and are grateful for receiving it in advance, you activate this multiplying of miracles to happen in your life. So if you want some stuff, a new house, go to open houses. Take a look online, see them, feel what it's like. Talk to people that got a new house, their process. Make what you want familiar. If they could do it, you could do it. If you want a new car, go test drive it. If you want, any other stuff or a great trip, look at some videos and trips online. Talk to people that have been to the places that you want to go. You can do this. Make what you want familiar and welcome. I have a friend of mine who lives in San Diego. And he decided he wanted to be a real estate agent, a successful real estate agent, right? So he went through the classes and he hung his license in a broker's office. And he, after about 8 months, he told me he was going to give up on being a real estate agent. I mean, the very few clients that he had ran him ragged for very little money in commissions. And he calculated how much time he put in and the cost of his time, and he thought, I could have a lot more fun, have a lot more free time if I just work at a coffee shop and make more money. This is silly. I'm going to give up. So I asked him, do you use a daily spiritual practice? No. I said, okay, well, you need to do that. You have a spiritual center near your house you can go to. Here's my book, try this one on for starts. And have you met other successful realtors and really gotten to know what their journeys were and what their stories were and how they moved from being brand new as a real estate agent all the way through to being a successful real estate agent? No, I haven't done that. I said, okay, these are 2 things you need to do. So he did. He went to meetups. He went to networking events. He talked to the brokers in his office, and they introduced him to other successful realtors. And as he started to learn their stories, what he recognized was, they're just like me. They're just like me. There's nothing extraordinary. They haven't had any additional training that I've had. They've hustled. They've gone out and got information that can be helpful to their clients. They've served their clients in a great way. If they could do it, I could do it. And he started to change his words to describe him being a successful realtor, serving his clients in valuable ways, so that everyone related to the buying and selling transaction was blessed as part of working with him. And he described that with great gratitude every single day. After he did that for a period of time, his brain said, okay, I believe you. Took spirit off mute. All sorts of intuitive directions and guidance were given to him. And one of those thoughts, how many of you have ever had a thought just fly into your head out of the blue? Yeah? Well, he had one of those. And guess what it was? To contact surf shops and corporations that had executives that were surfers. This is San Diego, so there's quite a few of those. He used to compete as a surfer in his earlier life. And he got this intuitive message and this idea to create a presentation with videos, and he knew lots of famous surfers, so he was able to get videos from them for free, and he got them on tape, and he got quotes from them, and he built this presentation that showed the correlation of risk-taking in surfing and business. And he made a really fun presentation. He called the surf shops and corporations and offered to give this presentation for free. Out of the blue, that just came to him. Divine intervention in human affairs, a miracle. Through that process, he was a huge hit. He's a likable guy. You guys would all love him. He's a likable guy, and through that, he met lots of new people who were executives in corporations. That translates into having lots of money, and that translates into knowing lots of people that have lots of money. And consequently, they referred him business, and he not only met his original goal for financial success, he has made 2 subsequent goals and met those as well. You can do this too, but you have to have courage to take the step. When you get that intuitive lead, you've got to take action. So, in closing, what I'd like you to do is know that I have a friend of mine who's a music director, like Beverly, at a church in LA. And she was so inspired by step 7 of the daily practice that I write about in The Path to Wealth, the forgiveness practice, the giving forth practice that happens every night. She was so inspired that a song came to her. And the song said, I have to be out there. And she had never published a song before. She was really scared. So she did the same practice. She went out and met people that published songs. She found out, wow, if they could do it, I could do it. And she created a gorgeous recording that she calls the Forgiveness Song. And she sent up the sheet music to Beverly. And so we've asked, we don't have the rest of the band and all the different harmonies and melodies, but it is available on iTunes, in case you want to check it out, the Forgiveness Song. But I've asked Beverly, as our closing prayer, to play that for us today. I know that as you use repetition to reap rewards, as you recognize how you're wired and love your brain, it's just trying to protect you and unleash an unlimited amount of intuition by making what you want familiar and welcome. and having the courage to take the steps that you're directed to take, you will achieve whatever it is that you decide you want. Success is a system. It's not a secret reserved for only a few. May you be blessed. May you be happy. May you be prospered. May you experience an incredible life of miracles. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, there is a good for you and you ought to have it. And I would say you should have it now. Thank you so much.